Hey, good morning, guys. So welcome to the show. Welcome to Talk Crypto. Today is Friday the 7th of June, and Bitcoin is 71,000. I got my $1 a day sats, which was 1,753. Again, it's really interesting. That figure was yesterday, 1,754, and the day before was 1,753. It's just not doing, Bitcoin's not doing anything at the moment. I did a video yesterday talking about don't worry, it's towards the end of the video, which I think there's a lot of value there and it's worth thinking about, but most of you probably don't tune in that long because most of you got attention spans of a gnat. But listen, this video is, I'm gonna try and dive straight into it because I know everyone's busy and everyone's got got their lives to lead and all the rest of it, and you haven't got time to watch a 20-minute video from start to finish. So I'll try and get to the crux of it right now while I'm driving. So join me from the drive as I drive into work. And yeah, quickly, right. So interesting. Bitcoin, JFK did a JFK Junior was interviewed at Consensus 2024, and he's obviously one of the candidates for the presidential election, and obviously he's not going to get voted in to be president because the system's rigged basically for the Democrats or the Republicans. It's a little bit like the UK system in that sense, where ultimately it's two sides of the same coin, Conservatives and Labour, etc, etc. Elected dictatorship, maybe. That's not about this. What's interesting is, and I think this is really important, is that Bitcoin is starting to be talked about by mainstream and by politicians, and it's only starting. But like anything, it starts somewhere and it inevitably grows. A little bit like the adoption of crypto by institutions and nation states. A little bit by you adopting it and then telling your family. It spreads. Biden, sorry, that's a little gaff there, wasn't it? JFK Junior was talking about basically how the dollar system is completely screwed. And to be fair, I haven't watched the whole interview, so I've just grabbed a few bits. I'm going to. So if there's any amends to make, I might do another video on it. But again, please correct me in the comments if you've seen the video, or even share your thoughts. And he's starting to talk. He's one of the few politicians talking about how the fiat currency, how the dollar, is basically broken. And he's talking about how he will start thinking about pegging the dollar against gold, silver, platinum, and Bitcoin. And again, I'm going to dive more into watching that video, maybe share some of those insights with you. But other than that, that's the only thing I want you to be made aware of in this video, because it's actually very important. One is that he's making it clear and recognizing there's a problem with the existing system. The existing fiat system is broken. The debt system is broken. The inflation, the debasement of currency is broken. It's a problem, and it's causing societal problems that no one could have ever imagined, and it's only going to get worse. And he's talking about, as the solution to the problem, Bitcoin being part of the solution. For a politician who's trying to be voted into the White House, to just say Bitcoin is probably a step too far for him just yet. He may well believe Bitcoin is the only solution, but again, it's about slowly sowing the seeds and educating people, and he's obviously trying to educate the public about the problems with the US economy, the US financial system, the US monetary system, and he's drip feeding the solution, of which one of the things he's suggesting is Bitcoin. rather than just again all out Bitcoin. I mean, whether he believes fully in Bitcoin or not, I don't know, but it's unlikely, even if he did, that he would just say, oh, we need just to peg the US dollar to Bitcoin and everything will be fine. So that's interesting. And what happens, and this is also important, guys, what happens from the American politics to English politics is things tend to happen in England, and they tend to, cultural elements and I don't know, fads, politics, things tend to spread from America to the rest of the world, and we find that in the UK and in other countries, I'm sure is the case. Let me know if you're like in Australia and you think the same. That certain cultural or practices or politics or whatever it is gets exported and eventually gets adopted by your own country. I suspect, you know, for example, Reform is a party that's emerging from nowhere in the UK to almost offer a rebellious opportunity for voters to vote against the existing establishment. They're not talking about a broken money system. They're not talking about problems with too much debt in the UK economy. They're not talking about Bitcoin as being a possible solution, maybe mixed with other things, just to slowly infiltrate the population to help them understand Bitcoin. But I suspect, maybe not this election cycle, but maybe in the next one, that these topics will become more prevalent for those rebels who are willing to try and make a difference. And just quickly on Reform, what's interesting with that rebellious nature is they're not standing on a left or right sort of mandate. They are standing on a mandate that is for everybody, working class people, you know, whatever. You know, they're literally, you know, people who have got millions of pounds, because they're going to be saying, look, business owners, they're standing on a mandate for everybody, which is, you know, they're not a left or right option where everything in politics has always been, well, you're on this team or you're on this team, and if you're not on this team, then, you know, you're the enemy. So it's a bit of a refreshing approach. But this isn't about politics. This is just talking about ultimately how Bitcoin is slowly, firstly, how the education of the population, and this is important for the adoption of Bitcoin, you know, much further than it is now. Obviously, it'll, you know, continue to be adopted and all the rest of it, and that growth will continue. But what we're seeing is just another example of the adoption process where politicians start recognizing there's a debt problem, a currency problem, a debasement problem, that, you know, this isn't sustainable. That's going to start creeping into the UK sort of conversation, I'm certain. I don't think it's there yet, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's there yet. I've tuned out of politics a little bit in recent years, even though I studied economics and politics many years ago. It's just sort of turned me off. But so I think that's really interesting in terms of the adoption of Bitcoin, that slowly more and more people will start be educated by the mainstream of the problems. Now, it will inevitably start from the fringes. That's where everything happens. It always starts from the fringes. It's not going to be a mainstream party that talks about these problems. It's too rebellious. It's too it's not a safe topic to talk about. You know, everyone who is in a safe position, whether it's in business, whether it's in politics, they're going to want to talk about, you know, they're going to want to stay in their lane, and they're not going to want to sort of, you know, try and sort of create something or expand upon the remit that they have. Ultimately, they're all about saving their own asses and just doing the bare minimum and just doing the status quo. You know, they're not going to pop their head above the parapet. Let's put it like that. Whereas, you know, I think slowly we're going to see, you know, those rebels start talking about these topics. and start educating. I'm not saying that these, like the JFKs or whoever or Reform, are going to sort of get into power, but the point is, slowly these topics are going to be talked about from the fringes, and then mainstream will eventually switch on because the public are starting to switch on. So this is the typical adoption that will probably play out in terms of the conversation of the debt problem, the debasement problem, that the money system's broken. It'll happen at the fringes, and slowly people will learn about Bitcoin as a solution, and then it will slowly get adopted by more mainstream, etc., etc., etc. You can see where the trajectory goes. So it's really, so this what I'm trying to summarize, guys, is the fact that JFK is talking about this will be exported to the UK and other places in time. It's not going to impact straight away, but the conversation is starting, which is fantastic. In terms of the mainstream, we're talking about these things all the time, of course. And if you're in the Bitcoin space and crypto space, you're going to be very familiar with these types of conversations. Jeff Booth talks about, debasement, inflation, and, all the money printing and all the rest of it, how it's all a theft. But it's very, very, it's very niche. Not many people even consider questions of what is inflation. So this is positive in the sense of it's going to be a slow path to more of these types of conversations among the mainstream, which again just accelerates and hopefully give you confidence that you can see where the trajectory of Bitcoin is going as these conversations become more and more mainstream. Listen, guys, that's it. I'm not going to go forever. Let me know what you think. Put in the comments. Give us a like, subscribe. Come on, we need some support. We're only a little small channel, but in all honesty, having the odd chat with just one person, I did the other, with two people in my last video. That was fantastic. Really appreciate you guys just putting a little comment in there. We don't always have to agree. That's not a problem. Not a problem at all. I'm all about wanting to learn, improve. I don't pretend to be, have all the answers. I'm on a learning journey and want to grow as a human myself. And if I can just share a little bit of value, a little bit of perspective from where I see things, then that's what this is all about. And equally, but I'm equally very, very willing to learn, listen, and adapt and change my thinking. So more than happy. But listen, guys, I'm love you, leave you. Hope you have a great day, and catch up with you soon. Take care.